Number 1. When I was 19 to 20, I used to work for a well-known gas station chain. A lot of the time on evening shift, 4 to 12, I was alone. Though both cash registers were behind a wall of plexiglass, there was still a 2/3 foot opening between them, where a sliding door is for the night shift to close to avoid robberies. It was about 5 p.m. and still daylight when this guy came in. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up when he walked in. There was just something about him that just wasn't right. I should also add, I'm a female, if my username didn't already give that away. He walked to the back of the store, made it seem like he was looking for something in my coolers and by the back shelves. But he never once picked anything up to read or look over, and every now and then he'd look up at me. He'd gradually make his way toward me, but would retreat to the back of the store when someone came in. This went on for about 10 minutes. These 2 women came in and went to my coolers at the back of the store. I quickly wrote a note on a piece of paper that said, "Please stay with me so I can call the cops." When one of the ladies came to pay, I showed her the note. She nodded and went and told her friend. I had my eye on this creepy guy while trying to keep from completely panicking. One of the ladies leaves the store and the other lingers around the store. She looks outside and sees something, then leaves. Immediately after she left and I was about to hit call, the creepy guy rushes up to the counter. He looks out the glass door as he's 2 feet from me, then bolts. I look outside and the 2 ladies are talking to the cop that had just pulled up. The creepy guy must have seen the cop and decided it wasn't worth it. The cop looks over the guy as he takes off, then comes inside to talk to me. I explained to him his behavior and how my finger was on the call button as soon as he pulled up to get gas. The 2 ladies came back in to make sure I was all right, then left. The cop leaves, then comes back about 30 minutes later, saying they picked the guy up. He explained that the guy was high on meth and was looking for someone to rob to fuel his habit more. He was also in possession of a hunting knife, and the cop figured he would have seriously harmed me to get what he wanted. To this day, I thank my lucky stars the cop pulled up when he did. Dear meth head, let's never meet. Number 2. It is not the scariest story, but it happened to me when I was 25 years old and started in gay dating. I still had a little experience. This guy was in his early 40s, so 15 to 20 years older than me, but he looked attractive in his pictures. We were supposed to meet at an airport. I was coming back from a trip, and he was around at that time. So I told him my arrival time and where I came from. First mistake. Even if the airport is a public place, it is a bad idea to plan an appointment in an invitable place. I mean, though whatever happens, I had to be at the airport at the time I told him. It's not like I made an appointment at a bar, you know. It just took this guy a simple search to find out exactly where I was going to arrive at the airport. But I was naive, and our discussions were completely normal. First red flag. He asked for my identity, I mean first and last name. I refused to politely tell him, saying that it was a little too early and that he just needed my first name. Second red flag. He sent me more and more messages. He got impatient when I did not answer quickly enough. He gave me nicknames as if we were already in a relationship, although we had not even met yet. Even worse, he seemed to be on an incestuous father and son trip. Third and huge red flag. About 2 to 3 days before my arrival at the airport, and therefore the appointment, he tried to call me. I did not answer, but he left me a really disturbing message. Assume my name is John Smith. My voice autoresponder was, "Hello, it's John Smith. I'm not available at the moment. I'll call you back as soon as possible." It was my second mistake, giving my number to strangers on Grindr while leaving personal information on my answering machine. His voice message was, "Hey, John Smith. I'm delighted to know you, blah, blah, blah," in a triumphant tone, like I pawned you. It was too much. I was starting to freak out more, and I told him that I didn't want to meet him anymore. But he turned a deaf ear. He continued to talk to me and pretend that our date was still maintained while I continued to ignore it. At that time, 2012, we could not block SMS, only calls, so he could harass me in writing. I really thought he was crazy when he told me the day of my flight. I would be dressed in a black coat, blah, blah, blah. What about you? At that moment, I lost my temper and I just said to him, "Shut up, leave me alone." I was really stressed when I arrived at the airport. I was afraid of meeting him, even if I knew that I was not risking anything theoretically. I was paranoid to the point where I was watching behind me when I was waiting to take a taxi. I was afraid that he would be mad to the point of following my taxi by car. Later that evening, he left me a message. "What happened, John? I waited for you. I worried and I called the police." Seriously, I think he never went to the airport. He just wanted to take revenge for my rejection. But in any case, this guy was super shady. I'm glad I never met him. Needless to say, I fixed my fucking voice autoresponder. Number 3. This happened to my younger sister and I not too long ago, and I hope this doesn't ruin the case we have going. There's a park about a 2-minute drive from my house and a 7-minute walk. We were hanging out at the park, having a good time, when we noticed a man sitting on a bench just staring at us. It was around 6 p.m. and the park was decently full. I'm disabled, so I just assumed he was giving me a look for that. It was pretty normal occurrence, and I've even had people tell me that I'm too young to be using a cane or to stop faking it. After a while, we left the park and went home. About an hour and a half goes by, and we noticed her phone was missing. We couldn't find it anywhere and decided to go back to the park to look. At this point, it was dark and kind of foggy, but I've walked around through this park a million times at night to go graffiti down in a storm drain a little bit away from the playground. It was 8:30 p.m. and we got out of the car to look where we sat at the entire time. It wasn't there, and so we went back to the car to look there. We opened 3 of the 4 doors and turned on the lights in the car. All of a sudden, I had a sense of danger go down my spine and strike me at the core. I told my sister to get in the car and lock the doors, and we did. We sit there for a little while I try to regain my thoughts and figure out exactly why I felt like that. The car fogged up while we were sitting there, and I wiped some of the fog off through the front windshield in my view from the passenger side. That's when I saw him, a man, all alone in his mid-30s, standing by a lamppost, staring directly at us. I watched him intently, and he started walking towards the car. We were both scared shitless. She had noticed him too, and all we could do was watch him, horrified. He got about 2 feet from the car and acted like he was going to walk away or going past the car. But All of a sudden, he jumps out and aggressively tries to get into the car, jiggling the handle hard. I tell my sister to start the car and go. She puts the keys in the ignition and backs out, running over his foot. He pulls something out of his pocket and reaches down to the back tire, swinging what now I think was a knife. We drive home and call the police. They arrive and said he didn't commit a crime and therefore wouldn't investigate. I make a post on Nextdoor to warn parents to not let their children come to the park alone since the park is in the neighborhood. I had a woman message me privately that he had come to their house selling pest control and asked to enter her home. She sent me a doorbell picture, and sure enough, it was him. I took note of the company name on the shirt and called them, telling them what happened to see if it was a misunderstanding. They told me he doesn't work for them and pointed out the logo on his shirt. Although it had the company name, it was a different color and didn't belong to them. I looked through tons more of pest control companies in the entire state and found nothing else matching the company name. Number 4. This happened about a year ago while I was living in a major Midwestern city. My partner and I were in a long-distance relationship at that time, and they had flown out for the weekend to celebrate my birthday. We both love animals, and I had decided to take them to the zoo before going out for a nice dinner. I don't have a car, but had recently got a free invite for a rideshare service called Via, similar to Lyft and Uber, which I decided to use. I called us a car and we wait outside. It's important to note that the city I lived in was generally liberal and LGBT friendly, at least until you got to the suburbs. My partner and I are gay, interracial couple, which has led to some weird encounters when we were living in a more rural area, but nothing that felt immediately threatening. The car pulls up, and we say hello to the driver and ask how his day is going. He nods at us, but doesn't say anything. I didn't really think anything of it. Some people aren't very chatty, so we start discussing the logistics for the evening. We were pretty wrapped up in our conversation. We hadn't seen each other in 2 months. But I soon noticed that the driver was taking a strange route. The zoo was directly north of my house, about 12 minutes away, and he turned onto the on-ramp for a highway going south, which is an industrial area. I don't drive, like I said, so I assumed he either made a wrong turn or was taking a shortcut. We continued chatting for a little over 5 minutes, and we're still on the freeway, heading in what obviously is the opposite direction. I checked the Via app to see if I had ordered a group ride. Maybe he was picking up someone else. That's when I noticed a stark difference between the map open on his dashboard and my phone application. The Via app clearly showed us far away from the planned route, while whatever map was open on his phone was directing him to another location far enough away that it wasn't even visible on his screen. At this point, I felt a sinking feeling in my stomach, and I can tell my partner is on edge as well. They tried to get his attention, asking if he had gotten the location correct, and he muttered something under his breath and continued driving. We were now 40 minutes from the zoo and had no idea we were heading. We asked him again where he was driving, and he said he didn't speak English. However, my partner's parents are from the same country, and they later told me it was obvious he was pretending not to understand what we are saying. My phone was low on battery now. It had begun to snow, and we were outside city limits, quickly approaching the edge of Via's service range. At this point, both of us began loudly telling him to turn around and drop us back off at the house. I pulled up the app on my phone. There was no service number, but I told him I was contacting Via about the error right now. He immediately pulled onto a freeway exit. It was barren other than a strip mall with a Verizon and a grocery store. He cut the engine, turns around, and in clear English tells us to get out of his car and that the ride is over. I tried to see what navigating app he had opened, but he immediately closed out the screen. Luckily, we could walk to the Verizon store where we were able to charge our phones, and I found someone to pick us up, as there were no ride services nearby. We were so far away that it took almost an hour for our friend to arrive. Once we got back, neither of us felt like going out anymore. I tried to report the incident to Via, and they said he had confirmed our drop-off at the zoo through the app, which conflicted with my GPS tracking. All the rep did was apologize and give me some credit for a future ride, which I didn't use. I don't know where he was planning to take us, but my partner comes from a very conservative and religious country and believes something very bad could have happened. Hi everybody, it's your creepy older sister here. Thank you so much for listening. You have no idea how I appreciate this. Since the channel is fairly new though, I would like to hear some comments or suggestions from you so that I can continuously improve my coming videos. If you want to know what the name of the channel means, you can check out the description below. If you want to send me stories to read, you can also check out my email and send it there. It's also in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so we can grow together here, and I'll definitely try my best to upload more each week. Once again, thank you very, very much. And to all the creepy experiences, bad vibes, scary people, and paranormal encounters, together we say to them, Tabi-tabi po.